Hello, and I'm feeling very glad to share with you a couple of videos as I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Peter Fries, curator of the Patek Philippe Museum, and talk about some very interesting surprises that just kind of popped up and complemented their knowledge of the pieces produced by the brand in the first part of the 20th century. In this first video, we'll talk about an unknown version of the tablecloth that was used as the base of its revised version produced in a limited series of 100 shown this year. So the Patek Philippe Museum knew about two of these, both associated with illustrious names of watch collecting, Mr. James Ward Packard and Mr. Henry Graves. But surprise, surprise, now comes a third one. So how is it to continuously be surprised by the discoveries that are coming to you?
You know, we're always up to date with the knowledge we have on our websites, on our catalogs, and about our knowledge we create stories. One of our bigger stories is about two American pioneers, James Ward Packard, founder of a car company with very exclusive cars in the 1920s, cars you would like to drive with because of their beauty, and Henry Graves, one of the largest collectors of Patek Philippe in the 20th century. They both had kind of the same desk watches, as we call them. Actually, these are presse-papiers. That's the French term, how it's in our archive. So these presse-papiers, there were only these two, and they have very exclusive movements. And the Patek Philippe company reproduced in a larger scale this one here on the left side, made for James Ward Packard in the 1920s.
When you mention exclusive movements, can you maybe explain a little bit the particularities of these movements?
Well, these movements were always extra class, highest quality Patek Philippe could deliver. They were specially made for larger pocket watches or integrated in such kind of a desktop clock. And now we have introduced the reproduction in a larger scale with more functions at Watches and Wonders this year, and all of a sudden another one came to our attention in a private collection in the United States. And it's very interesting. In many ways it's absolutely the same, it's the same movement, the decoration a little bit different, but we do here have a monogram TE. And TE stays for Thomas Emory. Thomas Emory was, thanks to the help of John Reardon from Collectability, we know more about Thomas Emory now. But to summarize it, he was in the building business. He had one of the biggest properties in New York City. They owned many properties all around the United States. So, like James Ward Packard, like Henry Graves, he had enough fortune to afford pieces like that. And Thomas Emory is, for the Patek Philippe Museum, not an unknown person, because the first wristwatch ever built with a perpetual calendar was made for Thomas Emory. Here it is, it's in our collection. Recently, some years ago, we acquired a very nice pocket watch, also made for Thomas Emory, with a fantastic movement with a tourbillon by Peloton. So this is the best of the best you can have, but we are very proud to have here three of these watches now next to each other, for a little while at least. We took them apart, we compared them, we were interested if there's any differences, something we have never seen before. No, This is the same movement in these two watches here. This is a little bit more complicated and a little bit different. It tells us that at the beginning of the 20th century, there were probably more people like these three who are collecting Patek Philippe very complicated watches, watches with complications. And our representative member of the board of Patek Philippe, Mr. Stein, who ran the American business, he was famous for reaching out to the right people, for making them interested in Patek Philippe watches with complications. That's how the James Ward Packard watch with a sky table, a rotating sky table, was produced, which we have in our collection as well. That's how the super complication for Henry Graves got produced. These watches here were kind of in the same price level. You know, the super complication was 10 times more expensive than one of those here. But that's an American story of the early 20th century, before the world economic crisis, before the Stern family took over the company. But that was the role model. These watches were the role model for the future of Patek Philippe watches, like the Packard watch with the sky map, rotating sky map showing the skies of Dayton, Ohio from his living room, or in Henry Graves' watch, the sky map from New York Central Park, where he probably lived. These collectors, they didn't know each other. Graves and Packard never have met personally. And I don't think Thomas Emory met these two people. Maybe not, but they were not competitive collecting against each other. They were introduced by Patek Philippe to the best of the best watches. And Patek Philippe was very glad to have such clients.
Would such clients kind of actually push Patek Philippe into their development? Do they have kind of a way to say things that could help Patek Philippe go further?
There's a saying that when Packard or Graves came to our store, we have to listen to them because they know more about our companies than we know about ourselves. This is a nice bon mot, and we have to believe it or not, but it at least expresses that these people were very interested in mechanical timekeeping, especially James Ward Packard. He was a maniac when it was about mechanics. And he understood the watches from inside out. For Patek Philippe, they were here in Geneva. They had their watchmakers all over the Jura Valley with this enormous capability to produce these kind of complicated watches. The only way to compare the intellectual power of Jura Valley and the watchmakers here, it's the density of the watchmakers which inspired each other, is what we have today in Silicon Valley. Of course, it's a completely different subject, but density of knowledge creates super knowledge, and it creates innovation. And it's a very nice way how the company in the early in the 1920s especially, demonstrated the innovative power which they have conserved coming from one of the owners of Patek Philippe, Mr. Philippe, and of course Mr. Patek. They both were not alive any longer, but their energy was basically in these watches.
Yes, baby, there are more. And something interesting to add is that in this world of super collectors, we often come across the names of Mr. Packard, Mr. Graves, but that club, the Patek Olympe Club of Collecting, well, it seems it's actually a bit bigger, with the likes of Mr. Thomas Emory and Mr. John Moorhead III, whose watches you will discover in the next video with another surprise. Watches with double movements, one stacked on top of the other. And yes, I said watches because there are two. See you soon.